So I was just about going on to a remote session with Motorsport Electronics to possibly get the first bits of activity out of the engine. Of course, first thing they said to me is, have I got a timing light? Well, yes, I have got a timing light, and it is just here. One slight problem with it though, it's designed to go clip over an HT lead. Do you see any HT leads on this engine? No. Spark plug leads? No. Because I've got coil on plug ignition, haven't I? So I suppose, anyway, that if I take the coil off plug number 1, maybe I can kind of put an extension lead in place. I shall have to pinch a spark plug lead from another car, I think. So there's the coil on plug. There it is. Now, I suppose I can put a spark plug lead on the end of that and stick it in the hole, as it were. Now I can see the spark plug, but as well as the need for a timing light, I also need to know where top dead centre is. Can I see the timing marks on the front pulley? No, I can't. So yeah, I'm going to have to take the spark plug out, I think, and stick a long screwdriver down the hole. Right, so my methodology has evolved. In fact, I have discovered I can get a socket onto the crank pulley, so I can actually turn the engine over by hand rather more accurately. So that's one thing, and the other thing is I've made a little mark. So as you can hopefully see, I've marked on my screwdriver the exact position it intersects or touches the spark plug hole just there. Now, one of the problems I've got getting my timing light working is a lack of HT leads or spark plug leads. I've got this thing, it's a coil on plug device. Spark plug goes in here, and not high tension, just low tension wires go in here. So I've borrowed a spark plug lead out of the a yellow car. Here it is, and I reckon there's a possibility that I can fix this onto that, and then this onto that, but in the car, in the engine. So let's just see about that sticky stage. And then I'll put this in the spark plug hole with a spark plug, of course. I should just still connect up the electronic connection, but now I've got a spark plug lead that I can use. Right, so my low voltage stuff goes on there. This end goes on the spark plug. And all of that is so that I can attach this, which is my timing light, on cylinder number 1. Now, it's all very well finding top dead centre, but it would be quite nice to have some timing marks, wouldn't it? So I've measured the size of the pulley, which I think was 17 centimetres, which with a bit of pi and all that, that worked out to almost exactly 1.5 millimetres per degree. Is that right? Yes, 1.5 millimeters per degree. So I've basically drawn that out using a ruler. All I've got to do is stick it on the pulley in the right place, albeit I can't quite because this will be on the belt because there's nothing else to stick it to, so I'll use it as a template to mark out some marks on the pulley itself. Now actually you might have detected some hesitation because 1.5 millimeters is a bit too small to draw on a piece of paper. These are actually 3 millimeters per division, and therefore each division is 2 degrees before and after top dead centre. The reason for wanting a timing light, the reason for wanting to be able to find top dead centre is because, unlike on a traditional engine which relies on its timing marks on the crank front pulley or what have you, the crank sensor ain't necessarily at top dead centre. So if you imagine top dead centre is where my fingers meet in the overall cycle, if that's top dead centre there, the crank sensor could be over here, let's say, or over here. So there's very likely to be an offset between where the crank sensor is and where top dead centre is, and therefore you can't time in the ignition until you've discovered what the relationship is between the top dead centre and the crank sensor position. So this is what this is all about. When we can find top dead centre, and then we can look at where the ignition is firing, then we can find out what that offset actually is, and this is what we're trying to do. Alright, so where my thought process, and it has taken me a little while, reached was to use a screwdriver down the bore. Now you saw me do this, and I made a little mark with this tape that lines up with the spark plug hole, and basically as the piston comes up, obviously it rises up, and then as you go past top dead centre, it goes back down again. Up and then down, up and then down. So if I mark the crank when it reaches the tape on one side of top dead centre, and then up and down and mark it again when it's on the other side, we'll have 2 marks on the crank pulley, and the point, this is the important part, the point exactly in between is top dead centre itself. So that's what we're doing. So this is my process. Now luckily I can get the socket, which on this engine is actually 18, strangely, onto the crank front pulley. I didn't think I was able to do that to begin with, but I can. Okay, this is my screwdriver. I've taken the spark plug out, of course, and I put it down the spark plug hole, and in fact it is, I'll take you and show you. You can see that the bottom of the tape intersects with the side of the spark plug hole just there perfectly, because that's, I put the tape on particularly to achieve that. Now if I can do this and hold you at the same time, if I turn the crank pulley round, now just imagine I've marked the crank pulley at this point, by the way, which I have. So I'm going to wind, so we are going upwards and going downwards again. Well, okay, that probably didn't film amazingly well, but suffice to say, by doing this I've actually managed to put 2 marks on the crank. So we have 1 mark from where the tape lines up, we have another mark from where the tape lines up, and I've split the difference and chosen this point, obviously when it's there, is where top dead centre is. It may not be quite as accurate as using a dial gauge, but considering we're mainly looking for an offset to get the ignition timing started, not finished but started, I think that's pretty good actually. Now I've put my tape on up here which has these marks which are every let's see now, 2 degrees, 1.5 millimeters per degree, 2 degrees apart, and I've made them to line up with the top dead centre mark. Ignore the pointer for a second because it's not quite at top dead centre. So I've used that. I've stuck the tape on, but of course it can't stay there because this is the belt that it's on, and the belt isn't timed, so it will end up very quickly in the wrong place. But what we have now is a sequence of little marks which give us some timing. Now the only weakness I can see in this, of course, what happens if the timing is right over here somewhere. After all, actually that is the crank sensor just here, so it could easily be right up here. So anyway, we'll discover that in a minute, I hope. And there we have it, top dead centre. And because my Tipex was a little bit blobby, I did actually use a chisel to scrape off and make it more of a fine line. So there we have it, top dead centre. So now we've made our, well, let's hope it works, adapter, so the spark plug lead can go in between the coil-on plug device and the actual spark plug. Hopefully we can get the timing light to work. So let's take my screwdriver out and put the plug back in. Right, the plug's back in. Let's take that off for a second. Now this plug lead is actually a little bit too big to go in the hole, so I hope that's not going to be a massive problem. Well, it's in the hole now. Okay, so here we have the plug lead, which is not normally there. We'll put the low voltage connection onto the coil-on plug device, as I keep calling it, and we'll see if the timing light works at all. Now I need to find a power for that, which could be quite easy. It seems to be a big live thing over here. Alright, so I seem to have got my timing light connected to my kind of rig up. Let's see if it works. Now, it's a long time since I put a timing light, so let's see if I can make it flash. I need to get the other side of this door, I think. Right, so I'm going to turn the key and see if it flashes. Check there's nothing about to fall into the inlet ports. It's all clear. Okay, let's go. Not a sausage. Well, that's disappointing. Okay, so I'm going to switch the light off so I can see more clearly and check the strobe on here. And we don't have any Probably because I've switched the ignition off. Yes, in fact I had switched the ignition off. Let's try that again. I'd say that was slightly further advanced than it needs to be. I'll change the figure. Right, a couple of degrees different. Yeah, maybe a couple more. That's now around 300. Let's try again. No, a bit more than that. Perhaps this will be the last one. Yep, I reckon that's it. You probably noticed that the strobe mark was actually moving very slightly. Slight inaccuracies due to goodness knows what, to be honest. But this is obviously a very low engine speed. But I think that's right now. It took quite a few steps to get the spark to trigger the timing lamp to find top dead centre. Aside from the screwdriver thing and marking the tape on it and all that business, I also, because we have coil on plug ignition, I've got this weird arrangement because normally all you see is this type of thing. There is no spark plug lead, so I've had to rig up this thing so my coil on plug thing is in here, and that is connected to a spark plug lead, which enables me to pick it up with the trigger thing. And then, because I couldn't even see whether it was working or not, I've got one of these sparky things eventually leading down to a spark plug itself. But I can demonstrate the sparky thing just by switching the ignition on for a moment. Did you see that? I'll do it with the light off. Right, my sparky thing, kind of transparent spark plug thing. No, I can't see it on the screen, but believe you me, in real life, just there was a bright orange flash every time I do that. Oh, I did see it on the screen that time. Anyway, yeah, so it's a bit of a rigmarole to get that all connected up. But anyway, I've done it. So now I can put that back the way it's meant to be, put the spark plug lead back where it's meant to be on this car, which is good, and move to the next stage. If you got as far as this, thanks very much for watching, and in case you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. That would be really encouraging for me. So catch you on the next one.